What was your childhood like in terms of how it relates to where you're at now with your career?
So I grew up, I have a single mother that like raised both me and my brother. And so because of that, like when other kids were like outside, like playing and everything, I just was always inside watching movies. That's like literally all I did. I've seen everything.
Mm.
And so basically just as I was growing up, my mom always like allowed a space for me to like be creative, and she never pushed me to like do anything super like academically, or she was just always very open to me like expressing myself artistically. And I really feel like that's the biggest influence on my like work, was my mom just being so open to that.
Mm. That actually is like perfect for my next question. It was about prefacing with your mom writing and your brother doing music and fashion, and then you doing like videography and stuff. If you were to not go into like a creative venture and maybe like look to work like a standard 9 to 5, was that ever in the picture? And like, what sort of things were you interested in that weren't creative endeavors?
The only time in my life that I didn't want to, because ultimately I wanted to make films. Like I wanted for the big silver screen and everything. But the only point in my life where I questioned it was my freshman year of high school. For some reason, I'd gotten in my head that I wanted to become a politician. And I was like, yeah, Stanford is where I need to go. I need to become a politician. I need to fix this country. And then my mom was like, Elon, like, what are you doing? Like, is this really what you want to do? And I was like, no. And then junior year of high school, she was like, you should apply to the summer film program at USC. And I did. And it was just me at 16, 17, with like a bunch of like 30-year-old working professionals who were trying to like rework their scripts. And I was like, wow, this is really what I need to be doing. Yeah. And then after that, I was like, no, I can never do a 9 to 5.
But yeah, having like doing film, having a distinct vision and executing it, like when you go in, can be very overwhelming for people that want to like start making films. When you get like on a project first, what's the first aspect of it that comes to mind usually?
When it's a music video, I mean, the first thing is I listen to the song on repeat. Like probably most of these people's streams are from me, but and I just start getting like, it's like pictures start coming to my mind, you know? And it's like these images that sometimes I can't shake. And I'm like, this is something that I need to flesh out more. So then I start to look at really like the themes and what am I trying to express. And after that, everything sort of falls into place. Like whenever I'm starting on a script, I'm like, what am I trying to say about the world? What am I trying to let people know? Like, especially it's like evident, I feel like in the Sony video, just with that whole juxtaposition of like family and the street life. Yeah, I think that's why I'm so proud of this video, because I feel like that's the one that we really best got it across.
Specifically with music videos, are you more inspired by movies, television, or like other music videos themselves?
Yeah, I'd say a lot. I mean, I do like a pretty good amount of like references to movies and the stuff, like the whole Sandlot video.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would say like I pull from like all different kinds of stuff. Sometimes it'll even be like not even like film or music video related or anything, that it'll be like a piece of art or something that I'm reading that really just like triggers like an emotional or like creative influence. And then I feel like, yeah.
As a movie connoisseur and obviously somewhat of a music video connoisseur, I mean, you make them and everything. So what's your favorite, like what are some of your favorite movies, music videos from before you started making films yourself?
So some of my favorite movies are The Warriors, which is so funny because just someone like told my mom the other day that the Lose It video reminded them of The Warriors, and I was like, that's just made me so happy. La Haine, which is this French movie from the 90s. Goodfellas. I don't want to be like that film school fool, but like I love Tarantino and like David Fincher, and like all those, like I'm very big on like neo-noir and sort of like it's like dark, I don't know, but with like somewhat of like comedic aspects like thrown in. And music video wise, I mean, obviously like Cole helped pave the way for so many kids today. And I'd also say like Hype Williams, Omar Jones, like all these guys that are just like so distinct in their own style. Like I feel like too many people are like, you can do a lot with no money. The Sony video is no money, and I feel like people today forget that you can just be creative and do stuff. And a lot of people are just like waving the camera at a rapper. And it's like you can still do so much with nothing. And so I feel like drawing inspiration from all these people that like John Cassavetes, sorry for rambling, but like another film director who like in the 70s make all these like cult classic films with literally no money and actors that weren't even actual actors and they were people. So I'd say like all of these people just sort of like, yeah, influenced my work.
I was gonna say we both share a similar adoration for the phrase demon time. I've been saying that for a little bit, and I went on your Instagram to like collect shit, and I was like, oh, it's fire. When's like, no, this is a weird question. When's like the last time that you remember being like on demon time or in demon time when doing work for like NoSoap?
So when I write a script, I write like I can't write during the day. I need to write between like 1 to 5 a.m. which just kind of fucks my sleep sometimes. But it's like that. Yeah, exactly. I have to be in a place where like I'm sort of like starting to go crazy a little bit. And I mean like some demon time shit was the day we shot the Sony video was the same day we shot the Lose It video. And we were in New York for 5 days. We shot 4 music videos and we probably slept a collective 8 hours.
Jesus.
And so it's just like, yeah, I feel like a lot of the time that we're doing shit is really like demon time.
And we're talking about insanity hours. Obviously, you're still quite young, but young minds are usually like the craziest these days. Have you ever had an idea for a video that like your coworkers or peers, friends or family were like, nah, like we can't do that. Like that's like too far or too out there?
Yeah, there was a video that since been like taken down, but the concept that ended up coming together was a lot less harsh than the one that I'd originally come up with. And at one point I was gonna have like, because the video, it basically surrounds like people who they really are and what they seem outwardly. So it's like this guy finds like these glasses inspired by the movie They Live. And like when he puts on the glasses, he sees people for who they really are. So at one point I have like a Karen and like a Ken. And when the guy puts on the glasses, they turn into like clan members. And people were like, no, Elan, like you need to not. And I'm like, it's just like, I don't know, trying to get a message across. So like being harsh and like controversial is just kind of like a means to like make people uncomfortable. That's how you have these conversations.
Yeah, the polarizing like steps are like obviously like what make like legends and innovators, but maybe they just want you to like, I don't know, pump the brakes a little bit first.
Yeah. And like I saw that and I was like, okay, that's valid this time around.
Yeah. Next time though, we're swinging for the fences. Yeah. What's the one place on your bucket list that you want to shoot at, or like an event you want to shoot? Like, doesn't have to be a music video.
So, goal is to one day make movies across the world. I am like a huge fan of language and culture. One day, it's a dream to shoot any sort of thing, whether film or music video or even a documentary in Japan. Been obsessed with Japanese culture since I was a jit. Also, going back to like my family's French. I would love to one day do a lot more work in Europe and France specifically. I just feel like there's a lot of like people in the States and everything. The world is so like US centric when it's really not the case. And there's literally so much of the world that it's just like now more recently that everyone is starting to get exposed to like worldly music. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it wouldn't have been as possible for like Bad Bunny and everyone to be as popping 10 years ago. But now we're getting to a point where we're accepting so much culture. So I feel like I'd really like to have the ability to explore worldly cultures.
What's it like having a fan page? I assume you're aware.
Yeah. So all those fan pages are honestly like, I wouldn't even say that they're like fan pages because it was like when I was 17 and my brother was dating Madison and all of Madison's fans that were like starting to like trickle down to me at the time. And I was like a little kid and I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was like, wow, like this social media shit's crazy. And then it was like, yeah, it was like a journey mentally, I'd say, because like as I got into college and everything, I was like, these are people that spend time out of their life to like be a fan of someone who hasn't even done anything yet. And that's when I really started to kick shit into gear. I was like, I want to do something with my life. I don't want to be known as like a little brother, or I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Mm. And I feel like, yeah, that shit was weird when I first started. I had like the kids at my school were like joking around, like showing me the pages, and I was like, I don't even know what you guys want me to say.
Starting off as a playlister and like starting to shift towards like A&R, talent development type branch of the music industry. there's always probably got to be a soft spot in your heart for like the underground. But as you and NoSoap grow, do you still think that there'll always be like part of you trying to work with the talented artists that don't have like the resources?
100%. So I have now like have the honor of like having some labels and stuff reaching out and wanting me to work with their artists, but I want to also make sure that NoSoap is always, it wasn't intended to be like a place for the underground, but as we started to get going, we realized like how much we appreciated doing stuff for these people that like don't have label backing and like don't have all this money behind them. And we're like, wow, this is really where like it's the grind. It's like it's the most exciting part of all of it, because once you blow up, then I mean everything's easy. It's like getting to do amazing work with these people that don't have necessarily the recognition that they will have. It's just like I always want to make sure that NoSoap stays as a place for the underground even as we grow.
What's like one trait of an artist that makes working with them so easy or fun?
Not taking yourself too seriously. That is like one of the biggest things, because there's so many like artists that I've interacted with that it's like, you're just kind of a dickhead who like thinks that you're the shit. And it's like, you just like, not to be a dick myself, but it's just like, it's easy to be nice to people when we do, because NoSoap is like entirely around my friends from high school and friends from USC and people that I've brought on. And it's a very like familial sort of community. So when we're doing videos, like we become boys with these people after. Like SSG was then added to our basketball group chat. So it's like, if someone is open when they don't take themselves too seriously, it allows for fun, and that sort of really comes through the camera and gives like an authentic performance that makes the people a lot more personable.
It like transcends, if that's the right word, into like the final product.
Yeah, 100%.
Just the idea of like enjoyment and shit.
Because you can see if someone isn't having fun on set, you'll see it in the video. So it's like as long as like you're not too hard-headed and you're just allowing yourself to enjoy and be creative and have fun, like it's gonna come through and you'll have an amazing final product.
And the record would show that you're not just a Baby Keem fan, you're one of the early listeners, one of the guys on him first.
Listening to him since he had 3,000 followers.
Yeah. Were you feeling the new track?
I was. I honestly though, it's my least listened to Baby Keem song. Like I actually only liked it like the other day, and because I like forgot that he put out a song. Die for My Bitch. I can't explain to you the amount of times that I've listened. Also, I thank you so much for like taking the care to do research enough to realize how big of a Baby Keem fan I am.
It's like my favorite part of this, for sure, easily.
I never buy it like tour merch or anything. I bought the tote bag and wore it every day to class. It says Die for My Bitch on one side and then has the album cover on the other. And I'd wear it with Die for My Bitch going to my USC film classes with my teachers being like, what the fuck are you wearing?
Fuck is Die.
And I'm like, you guys know. It's the hardest bag ever. Yeah. I like had to buy it.
What's your favorite Baby Keem track?
That's hard. There's a lot of stuff from before Die for My Bitch also. Let me see. I'm pulling up I like Rockstar P a lot. What's it called? Invented It was the first Baby Keem song I heard. And I remember when I heard it, I was like, wow, this fool's crazy. Mosh Pit.
Yeah, Mosh Pit.
Stats. The switch up in both Stats and Mosh Pit is where I was like, this man's ridiculous and insane for having these sort of switch ups in his songs. And then on the project, The Sound of Bad Habit, he has Miss Charlotte and Gang Activities. It just bothers me when people don't see past Orange Soda, because Orange Soda is a great song.
Yeah.
It's not his best.
No, definitely not. We just talked about like favorite tracks. The original question was going to be, if you could do a video to any of the songs, which one would it be? Are there any you listen to and you just like have the vision? You're like, please.
Fuck. I'd say like Honest. Honest, like, is just like one of the ones that like I just kept because like I was like, this man is really like doing like an alternative song. And I was like, what is going on? And it just like something really resonated with that one.
I saw you were just like the other day shooting OGZ for Psych World. Do you work with Psych World like a lot? NoSoap, that's like a 3-parter kind of. What was the original vision? Where are you at now for people that are unfamiliar? And where do you hope to take it eventually?
What did it start off as? I think I may have said this on Unheard, but it was just like freshman year. I was laying down in my friend's room, and I had my eyes closed, and I was just kind of thinking of like what what am I gonna do with like my future and everything? And I opened my eyes and there was a big sign that said NoSoap Radio. And I asked my homie and I was like, do you mind if I just run with this? And he was like, yeah, sure. So it started off as just like a playlist because I hate people that only listen to top 40. I don't hate them. I hate the closed-minded. But so it started off as this playlist. I was like, I want people to start listening to stuff that isn't top 40. And then we started doing these lives. Now we're in such a culture of like people consuming things nonstop. And it's like art has now fallen to like suits. And it's really annoying. So I wanted to have this space that artists could feel compelled to really just like present their work with like a larger platform. So then we started doing that, and that was sort of just like original submission Saturdays, but I think it was on like Wednesdays or Thursdays or some shit. Then that summer we had our first music video, top 5 for 300 Clay. And I was like, you know what? Let's start running with this video stuff. It's time to start going. So then the goal started becoming, let's make music videos. Let's be a real production company that is making visual, I don't even want to say content because it's just like, it's documentaries. We have short films coming out. It's like somewhere in like MTV and like the early days of Vice, you know, like I'm trying to make like a perpetuator of like culture, and I want to like make cool stuff that like stands the test of time. And then so from there, I'd say like we didn't even realize doing the video with SSG was sort of like this iceberg. We're like, we see how talented he is and everything. And then we didn't realize after doing it that it had exposed us to the entirety of the underground. I wasn't even tapped in with the underground like that. Like I didn't even realize to that extent that there was like all these kids now starting to bubble. And then my boy Ben put me on to Autumn. And I was like, wow, this guy's music is absolutely ridiculous. And I've never heard anything like this. Let's work with him. So then after that, we just keep digging ourselves into the underground. I mean, like now it's just like, I still have, since now we have so many projects that we're going under, I started to split the teams into little stuff. So we have people working on this documentary that's coming out next month, 4-part documentary on weed. I'm working on these music videos, and I have like some short films and some interviews coming out. And it's just like, I don't know, in many ways it's remained what we wanted to with those sort of Vice and MTV era. In a lot of ways, I didn't even realize that we were going to become like this sort of house for the underground.
You always been into documentaries? I mean, I assume with like being always into film, did you go through like a Vice sort of phase? Or is that just like
fucking biggest? It was like, it started off when I was like 12, 13, watching Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. If you've ever seen that, he just like tries a bunch of different drugs every episode. And I was like, this is the coolest thing. I'm literally watching on TV this guy do a bunch of drugs. I myself don't do that many drugs, but just seeing that was like groundbreaking. They just had so much stuff that was just so hard hitting. And I was like, this is so much different than all the other bullshit that's on TV. And so that was really inspiring. And the Nickelodeon aspect, because I mean, like we all grew up on, Nickelodeon is like looking back, the fucking weirdest humor ever. And like that really shaped a generation like humor. That's why we have like all this sort of like, we find like a picture of like an almond funny. It's like this sort of absurdist humor. So it's like finding like a way to thread the line between both of those, where we have this hard hitting stuff, but also the not taking ourselves too seriously.
What the hell is Local MILFs Wanted? Or is that still under wraps?
So Local MILFs Wanted was an idea I had one day. I was just sitting on the ground in my apartment and I was like, I want to do some clothing stuff, because I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do it with NoSoap, because I didn't want people to get confused. That phrase just came to mind, you know? I was like, why has no one done this yet? This is literally like, these words in this order is literally ridiculous. So then I had this kid, he had this really cool like way of drawing letters, and I was like, you should really make this a font. And then he made it a font, and I was like, let's make that the Local MILFs Wanted font. So we did, and then we did one drop, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. But we sold like 50 shirts, and I was like, this is crazy. Like I didn't even realize that it was like a means to make money by like selling clothes. I was like, that's crazy. We did that drop. But then I was like, you know what? I really want to flesh this out a lot more before I come back to it. So now it's kind of like a, if you know, you know. I'm going to start to roll it out again. The only thing is, the kid that then made the font was, him and I didn't agree morally on some stuff. And I was like, I'd prefer not to continue working. So now I'm currently working with this kid that's going to help me create a whole new font for it. And that's why it's kind of like slowed down, is because I'm really making sure that the branding and everything is very correct and all there before then rolling it out again. And because like NoSoap is like the more commercial, family friendly one. Local Most Wanted is my space to just be like out of pocket.
You just
But,
air
like,
everything out.
yeah, exactly.
It's like no soap on demon time. That's fire.
It's literally that's exactly. Yeah.
I was gonna ask what the significance of the Carter 3 in the opening animation for all the videos is. Like, why that album as opposed to any other one?
My graphic designer and animator, Simon Zilstra, he when he first sent me the opening animation, he just had that in there. And I was like, wow, I love it because it's just an album that like we grew up so heavily on. Like that's why I was wearing yeah, literally. That's why we were wearing G-Shocks.
Yeah.
Literally because we were wearing like and so when he had that in there, I was like, that's so amazing because it literally helps tie in the fact that NoSoap is like we're pushing towards what we're trying to make, but we also are always showing appreciation to the things that like we really came up on. So I was like, fuck, like that's amazing. Let's leave that in there, and this is what we're doing.
It's just like a tribute to like recycling culture because we're that generation that had all that culture, and we take it and we pump new stuff out.
Exactly. Repurpose it.
Yes, awesome. What is your favorite memory shooting videos for NoSoap specifically?
It's hard because there's a lot. And it's all shit that like when we were doing it, we're like, fuck, like this is like my body hurts, my like mental health is in shambles, but goddamn, like I'm so happy that we're doing this. And it's just like when we were shooting Top 5, the day sequence in it was like 110 degrees outside.
Yeah, bro, all your shit's like in the desert. Not all of it, but a lot of it's in the desert.
It's because I live in the valley and like
yeah.
Well, like my mom does, and there's just a lot of like canyon and like desert, so I'm just trying to use as much as what I can.
Yeah.
But it was like 110 degrees. We ran out of water bottles. We didn't have any tents because it's my first shoot. Like I wasn't even thinking about that, you know?
Yeah.
We're all sweating. I had these fucking sunburns. Like my skin was this red. Like it was so bad, but it was so amazing. Yeah, that sucked, but it was awesome. There was also when we were shooting Sandlot, it was hot as shit outside. And we went 2 hours past what we were supposed to do, but like everyone was having so much fun. It was okay. After we shot Lose It, this is possibly like one of my favorite memories now. So my DP, Wolfish Joey, and White Collar Will, who's in the video, they got a ride back from one of the girls that was in the video, and she was dropping them off at each of their places. And Luke Mero and I it started snowing earlier that day. Like light at first, but because we were inside, by the end of it, it's a snowstorm, full snowstorm. We're in New York, a city I was born in, but haven't been back to in like 10 years. The girl's like, are you guys sure? Like we can fit you in the car, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, no, don't worry. Like there's already too much shit in the car. We'll just walk. So we're walking in the snowstorm. We had no money. So we hopped the turnstiles with all the equipment. Like some weird people were like talking to us on the train. It was really funny. They're like, oh, you guys do music videos? Like you guys are probably making a lot of money. And we're like, no, actually we make no money, but we just, it's like, we have so much fun. We get off the train and then my phone was at like 3% and Luke's phone was like almost dead. And we walked like over a mile in the wrong direction through the snowstorm. There was like, I shit you not, there was like 15 inches of snow. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
We realized after walking a mile in the wrong direction that we're walking in the wrong direction. So then we walked 30 minutes back the other direction. Freezing, completely wet and everything, but like seeing New York at like 2 a.m. with no one there, with all the snow, was just so pristine. And we had just finished a full day of shooting 2 videos. And I was like, this is one of the happiest I've ever been.
So it was actually like quiet?
Yeah, it was the city that never sleeps was past the fuck out.
Because I'd never been in New York, but I can only imagine, it's so fucking out all the time. And I think I saw a picture or two from that, probably not the same night, maybe the same night. But like someone had the NoSoap logo in the snow.
Yeah, that was that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, that looks sick. Because it would look very dark, peaceful, not New York, but it was New York. I was gonna say, we talked about the comedy video earlier, and I thought the overlays on that were like insane because you had the GTA stuff and like Instagram stuff. What's the most obscure place or thing that you've drawn inspiration from?
Fuck. So my girlfriend really put me on to like doing research and development from Pinterest. And like my Pinterest feed is now like the weirdest shit ever. And like I have this like one like board or whatever it's called. That's just called like, I don't know, but this shit is just hard. And it's just like, I don't know. I pull references from like a lot of stuff from like Asian culture. I don't know. Like I'd say like a lot of like 50s noir. And what makes me sad is that sometimes it goes over people's heads. But I'm like, I just love referencing shit.
That's my favorite thing ever.
Like sampling, you know, it's like cool because you're like, wow, you took this from that, but you did it in your own way.
It's like the Kanye West of comedy.
That's fine. I'm in a Tarantino class right now, and they just the teachers talks a lot about like his use of sampling and reusing shots from like literally the same shots from older films into his own way. Big inspiration.
See, that's the difference between USC and ISU, because we don't have a class on Tarantino. Land film school and business school, we don't have a Tarantino class. As raw as that would be, I really wish it was in person because it'd be so much more sick. And it like bothers me that like on Zoom, like I keep having to like, it's hard to pay attention, you know. This put melatonin in those Zoom classes, I swear.
Like, 100%. Fucking coming out of my computer with this 5G shit.
Yeah, you have like a lot of like original content starting to like come out. As corny as the word content is, we have a lot of like new stuff taking off with NoSoap that aren't music videos, like the Keanu show, and like when you interview people. It's fire. How would you pitch like the Keanu show to people that aren't familiar with NoSoap?
So unfortunately, like the Keanu show stopped after the 3 episodes because Keanu is in medical school in the Dominican Republic, and so we're gonna now pick up like a new show. But I would say like the way we have it on the website is like we gave our funny friend a show where he interviews people on the internet. And that's also the one place where I felt like the Nickelodeon shit was really coming out the most. Like I feel like we had like that sort of absurdist humor. So yeah, I feel like that's. I was
always wondering what the fuck the morph suit guy. I was like, this is damn near Eric Andre's show.
Yeah. We when I was thinking about the Keanu show, I was like, I wanted to have a sidekick that's a full character, but the whole point of the character is that he's not a character. So that's why like his name is Void, and he's literally like the absence of a character as a character. And I was like, it's just me on some like faded shit, like 3 o'clock in the morning, but like
so tough.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out too. Really appreciate that.
No, thank you. But yeah, thank you for taking the time out of your day, conversation, chopping it up.